Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is a very quick session, very informal. So maybe just to introduce myself in case we haven't met. My name is Hannah. I am located in Germany. I am with Improve Academy. We are kind of part of the coordination team that is taking care of the ECCP, and part of the tasks that we lead is the profiles, the registrations, the online usability. So that's what I wanted to do in this session, specifically the profile cluster organization member is the one that we want to go through today. If you have any other questions, then obviously we can talk about that as well. If you have issues with your own profile or anything that you notice on the platform, would be really great to hear your feedback if you have any issues or you're missing something or you would like to see some specific feature on the platform. Let us know, and we really appreciate that kind of feedback. Before we start, let me put in the chat some useful email addresses. So for, let's say, issues that are tech or IT related, you can always email admin@clustercollaboration.eu. That's the IT team that covers everything on the platform. So in case you have an error message or something doesn't work, then that will be the email address you can send it to. Any other kind of content question, or you want to know more about a certain event, or you want to publish news and have a question or anything like that, you can send an email to contact@clustercollaboration.eu. The colleagues then will either forward your email to the respective people, depending on the topic, or they can reply to you directly. So now that we have that out of the way, let me share my screen. Let's look at the platform. So as you can see, I'm already logged in. This you can disregard. This is a slightly different view than your profile because I have an admin account for the project, but you can disregard that. So this is the main homepage. If I click here to see my profile, so my name is Hannah. I have filled this one out. And then here you can see draft profiles. So this is kind of, I looked into different profiles just to play around and for research purposes and testing. So that is all kind of saved, which brings me to the first point, because one of the colleagues from the other session asked a very good question, is if you can have several profile types in your account, which yes, it is possible. So for me, for example, I am a training provider. I have the training provider profile because that's essentially what we do. That's the most suitable. But I could also make any of these. So for me, I could do members of a cluster organization or resource efficiency provider. When I do, that profile still has to go through validation by the validation team, but I can have several profiles from my account, basically. On the other hand, if you went through the validation, you will probably already know, but sometimes, depending on the profile type, the validation team will send you an email and say, we cannot validate your profile because we're missing XY information. One of the issues could be, for example, if you created duplicate profiles. So say you created a profile for a cluster and then you created the exact same profile twice with different email addresses or something, but it is the same cluster. In that case, the validation team will reach out and ask which one you want to make the main profile, and which one they can kind of unpublish because they don't want duplicates of one and the same organization. or if any other information is missing, the validation team will reach out and ask you to provide more information. That being said, let's say I want to register a profile. Then here you see the different profile types. We have 8, which is why I'm hosting kind of a series of webinars just to make sure that we cover all the 8 profile types. For today, I would like to focus on the member of a cluster organization. So if I click on register, I have to accept the terms and conditions. There we go. What happens sometimes as an issue? So for example, you want to create your profile. I had one case where this happened, where someone filled in, for example, the address and then wanted to save it as a draft, which is not possible unless you fill out the very first field. So the name of the cluster organization, or in your case, the member. If this is not filled out, you cannot save it as a draft. So this would be kind of the most important one. So let's say, just for the sake, just test, then I have to upload the organization logo. I don't know, let's just take any picture, really. There we go. No, file is too large. Let's say this. There we go. Then address, of course. Let me just put down test. I am located in Düsseldorf. You will see that some of the fields have optional. That means the question is optional. You don't have to fill it out. Everything else is mandatory. What we did, and you will probably notice here we only have 2 steps. Previously, I think we had 3. So what we did last year is we reorganized all the different profile types and we updated the fields. So some of the fields that we had previously are not there anymore because they are not relevant. Some additional ones were added, or sometimes we changed from an open text field, for example, to a Likert scale because that's easier to fill out. So just so you are aware that those are mainly the changes that we introduced. Here, country, I don't know, it's just what is also, I think, a positive improvement since the previous versions is previously you had to fill out all the mandatory fields before you could save it as a draft. Now that's not the case. Now you really only need to fill out the name of the cluster organization member, and then you can already save it. So you don't have to fill out X amount of fields, but you can just do the name and then save it as a draft. Here, type of cluster member. This is also really important. Also to get to know and network with others, so they know what kind of cluster member you are. And then we have the breakdown of the sizes. So number of employees, for example, previously was an open text field where you had to put down an exact number, whereas now we're working with Likert scales just to make it easier. These ones are optional, as you can see. And then here, this is the kind of, let's say, unique feature of a cluster organization member is your connection to a cluster organization. So let's say I have to type in, let's say IDEA, because IDEA is a partner in our ECCP project as well. So let's say I am connected to the cluster IDEA, then I type it in. In case the cluster organization that you are linked to or that you are a member of is not on the ECCP, then you can add it manually here. What will happen, because this profile is a member of a cluster organization, we need some sort of verification that you actually are a member of the cluster organization. So if I choose someone who is already on the ECCP, so for example, cluster DIA, which is Antonio, he would get a notification via mail that I registered and that I am saying I am part of his IDEA cluster. And then he can accept and approve and say, yes, Hannah is part of the cluster organization. And then we're automatically linked. So my profile would pop up in his profile and his profile would pop up in my profile. If, however, I say, nah, my cluster organization is not part of the ECCP, I can add it here at menu. So I could say test cluster. What happens? I have to then click on add. What happens is, in case, obviously this is more of a either or question. So either the cluster is on the ECCP or it's not on the ECCP. If it is not on the ECCP, the validation team gets an automatic email saying someone registered as a cluster organization member whose organization is not on the ECCP. And then the validation team will reach out and ask, can you send us some sort of proof of your membership or a screenshot or something to validate that you are part of the cluster organization. Let's put that away. Actually, just so that Antonio doesn't get an email, let's do the test cluster again. Here, again, you see the pop-up that comes up, upload the proof of membership. So it can be anything. It can be maybe a screenshot of the website of the cluster organization if they have all their members listed, or it can be an email, it can be an invoice, anything that proves you are part of this cluster organization will do. So this is again then mandatory. Let me just upload any picture. Yeah, doesn't matter for now. Then here, mission and objectives, I can choose from the drop-down, let's say general aspects, and then here, website, let's also do just test. Social media is optional, and then contact details are important because if anyone sees my profile and wants to contact me, then they would know whom to contact. So let's say test. Oops, sorry. Test at test.com. Then the position, let's say CEO. And then here, which is also new, you can confirm that you want your email address shown on your profile. So previously, before the whole revamp and update, previously you only had the messaging function. You know, they could message you, but then that's a bit uncomfortable because if they message you on the platform, you get an automatic email. Then you have to log into the platform to respond to the message. Now you can agree that your email address will be part of your profile. So people can directly email you. If you don't want that, then the messaging function still exists in case you don't want your email address shown. So if I go to the next step, which is the final step, I have to fill out some kind of general information, some NACE2 codes, industrial ecosystem. I'm just selecting any now. S3 priority areas, and then these ones, the final ones, sectoral industries, technology fields, and industrial alliances are optional. So I don't have to fill those out. Oops, sorry. Still saving. So say you filled out kind of what you wanted to fill out and you are done, then it is automatically sent to the validation team for validation. So what they do is they look at your details, they look at dates, examples such as number of employees. They check if that is accurate, but for this profile specifically, so member of a cluster organization, the validation is really almost automatical. So what happens is, as I showed previously, I can just send it, and then what happens is, say I say I belong to a cluster that is on the ECCP. So for example, if I say I belong to the IDEA cluster, then Antonio has to confirm that I am a member, and that's the validation done. So it's almost automatical. If I say, no, I'm part of a cluster that is not on the ECCP, then as you saw, I had to send in proof, and then the validation team kind of has to manually check if that makes sense, if they can confirm, and then they publish the profile for you. So in any case, the validation process is fairly simple for you. Now, as long as that updates, let's go back to my profile. So what, on the other side, what, let's say I'm a part of Antonio's IDEA. What they would see is, for example, let's go to IDEA. Cluster organization, cluster IDEA. So let's say I'm Antonio. I can then see here under manage affiliations. I only have these buttons because I'm an admin. Usually only the account manager or the account owner has access, of course. But since I am an admin on the platform, I have this. So if I go into manage affiliations, oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, I think they're working on a bug that I reported yesterday. So technically, if I go and manage affiliations, then I would see the requests that I received. So I would see, okay, Hannah requested, they are part of my organization, and then I can accept or decline. Same goes for you, for example, if you go to your profile and go to manage affiliations, you can see whom you requested, what requests you received. It works both sides. So both sides can make sure that you are actually part of the organization. What also happens, because that is a new feature, let's say a cluster organization has a member that maybe just left the cluster. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the organization went into a different industry, or they just don't want to pay the membership fee, or whatever the case may be. Then the cluster organization owner, so IDEA, for example, could delete my membership in the profile as well. So then I wouldn't pop up as their member. So for IDEA, you can see here at the bottom, Antonio was kind enough to fill out every single field. So here you can see, okay, these are the members in the IDEA cluster. These is a cluster that they collaborate with, projects and partnerships. Say if I am partner or am a part of his cluster, and then I say I want to leave, then he can remove me from this overview. If in case I don't do it, I can also say, okay, I'm no longer part of this. I can delete it as well. But sometimes, you forget, or you don't know how, or whatever the case may be, then Antonio can still go and say, okay, Hannah is no longer part of our cluster organization. So he can do that as well. That was previously not possible. Previously, it just kind of stayed on the profile, no matter what happened. So now I can request that I be removed, and Antonio can also do it himself. So as you can see, whatever drafts I save are all saved here. So again, I had loads of test drafts. But when you do finish, and the profile for a member of a cluster organization is fairly short, as you saw, it's 2 steps. So when you do finish, then it'll be either automatically approved by the organization that you're a part of, or you have to submit some kind of proof. What you saw me do is that I skipped the optional questions just for time's sake. But if you do enter all the optional questions, or at least half of the optional questions, so all the mandatory ones plus half of the optional questions, you do get access to the Trend Universe, which is a new tool that we launched. So the Trend Universe is only for pro users. Pro user means like Antonio is a pro user because he filled out everything there is. But pro user means you filled out all your mandatory fields plus at least half of the optional fields. Then you are automatically upgraded to pro user. And that gives you access to the Trend Universe. The Trend Universe, I can also briefly show you. It's really interesting because it gives you a benchmarking in different trends. So I can see the ecosystems, I can join, let's go, I don't know, let's go to aerospace. And then it gives a brief introduction, and then I can go into mega trends, and then you can see here the different topics, and you can see what the status of the different topics in terms of benchmarking are. I can also do my own evaluation. That means I can answer a couple of questions and then I go into the benchmarking, and then it shows me what my position is based on the benchmarking, which is really interesting because it gives you additional information in terms of impact, competence, funding, publications, patents. So in the industry, so it's really helpful for kind of planning out maybe new initiatives or applying for open calls or any projects. This would be really helpful information to kind of see how you want to structure your projects or how you want to bring in new ideas into open calls, for example. So I think this is really interesting. But again, you only have access to the.
Where does this get information from?
So the platform itself already has a benchmarking database. And the database is being updated fairly frequently by the Inmanas team. So the Inmanas team is the host of the tool. And they are updating the data frequently. And then if I, for example, I fill it out myself and I evaluate myself, then my input also goes into the benchmarking because then that gets added to the database. So that's the basis of the tool. Any other questions? Thank you for the question, by the way. Any other questions? Also generally, not only to the Trend Universe. No, any issues that you had? What I would like to offer is, let's say, I don't know, let's say you want to have a one-on-one talk with me, then we can gladly do that. We can schedule that. Or if you have questions, you can also email me and I'll see if it's a technical problem or if it's a different problem, and I will talk to the IT provider. Or if you want to include colleagues of other organizations or other companies, SMEs, whatever, that should update their profiles, then you can also let me know. We can talk about that as well. If you want to organize anything else or, you know, a workshop, whatever, let me know. We can do that. Yeah, so really, especially for the member of cluster organization, because it is such a short profile with only 2 steps, it's really easily updated. And the access to the Trend Universe, you get that immediately as soon as you become a pro user. So, and of course, nothing is of any cost. Everything is for free. It's just the restriction that we want to pro users to join the Trend Universe. So if you have the time and if you can make it to update your profile, please do. If you have questions or, you know, you get stuck somewhere, please reach out. I'm more than happy to help. We can do it together. It's not an issue at all. So please let me know if there's anything. Also, if you run into issues on the platform or, you know, something is not, let's say, how you expected, or you would like something to change, also let us know. It's really, really helpful feedback. We are working on different, let's say, improvements on the platform. So if you have any ideas of how we can make it easier and better and, more helpful for you, then please let us know. Yes, I see a hand. I want to say Gonzalo. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. First of all, sorry because I connected late. I was with an urgent issue.
No,
just
okay.
My problem is that so far I could even register my account in the platform, so I cannot. We are a cluster member, but I tried 3 times, but I am supposed to receive an email with instructions with a password, but I never received anything. So
yes,
I sent a message to the help desk 2 days ago, but I have no news, so I don't know how to.
Okay.
To start.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for letting us know. I did notice that myself because before the webinars, I wanted to create a test account and not use my actual account. And then I noticed that I can also not register. So I urged the IT team to make this a priority and to fix this. So they are working on it. I don't know how soon they will work on it or when this will be fixed, but yeah, I asked them a couple of days ago, so
okay.
Yeah, they are working on it. Yeah, thank you for letting me know though.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on anything really? Okay, if that is not the case, then because someone asked earlier, I will send the recording to our comms and marketing team, and they will upload it to this page where you also, I will send a link via email to everyone who registered anyway, but here you clicked on this to register for the webinar, and then here we also have the manual, for example, on how to register a profile. We go through every single one of the 8 profiles, so this is also a helpful PDF. But we'll also store the recording somewhere here. So as soon as that's online, I'll email everyone who registered so that you have direct access and you can find it. But just so you are aware, that will happen probably sometime next week. So the team will then upload the different recordings on here. So currently it's the cluster organization and then today's session. So 2 recordings will go up next week, and then I have I think several more webinars next week and the week after. So step by step, we'll upload the recordings. So you have access also to those if you are interested. Yeah, if there are no further questions, thank you so much for joining. Please reach out whenever you have anything to ask or to complain about. It is really helpful for us to know. So thank you so much, and yeah, have a great rest of the day. Thank you, everyone.